All right. You wrote this piece of Real Clear Politics. Am I right that there's nothing in the Constitution that says people are guaranteed health care? And by the way, let me make this clear, too, before I don't believe abortion is health care, by the way. So let's get that out of the way as well. Take it away, my friend.
OK, there's nothing in the Constitution that says that. There's a Supreme Court case in 1991 that said even if something is constitutionally required, there is no obligation on the part of the government, on the part of Congress, to fund it. There are multiple Supreme Court cases saying the government has no obligation to fund abortion. The Hyde Amendment, which has been around for 40 years, has systematically made the point that the government is not going to fund abortion. There is not a single case in the plaintiff's complaint or in their application for a temporary restraining order, not a single case in which the Supreme Court held that a judge could enter a temporary restraining order against the Congress of the United States and the executive branch of the United States to stop a duly authorized congressional law that determined what to appropriate spending for and what not to appropriate spending for.
So a federal judge hijacked the purse strings of the federal government with simply one temporary restraining order? How is that even possible? And yet, apparently, I guess this could happen all the time with these radical judges. You go to the right judge, they'll do whatever you want.
And these lawyers, and I have to tell you, I work with some of Planned Parenthood's lawyers, obviously not on Planned Parenthood, and they're very good, very smart lawyers, and they won a stunning victory here because they won a victory they never should have won, and it's because they went to Massachusetts. They selected a judge who hates Donald Trump. This is the same judge that held that a 12-year-old child couldn't wear a T-shirt that said there are only two genders. This is the same judge that said that Donald Trump couldn't deport illegal immigrants back to Cuba and Dominican Republic and all sorts of other places that they had come from. This is a judge who substituted her political opinion for the law. And I want to make a point here. It's really, very important. My anger about what she did really doesn't have a lot to do with abortion or Planned Parenthood and nothing to do with the super bright attorneys who figured out how to win a victory that will only last a very short while. My anger is about a judge who thinks that she is in charge of the United States of America, that Article 1 of the Constitution, which requires that the Congress appropriate spending, doesn't mean what it says. And one last point, there's a separate Supreme Court decision, as if one would be necessary, that said Article 1 means what it says. This judge has run amok. This judge should be impeached. She won't be. This judge will simply become an icon to the far-left movement for her audacity.
You know, I can't help but think Republicans can't do this because if you run to a conservative judge, they literally look at how the law is written and then they refer to the Constitution and make a decision. They're not going to play this game even with fellow conservatives if you thought you could somehow game the system. For conservatives, it's not going to work. So clearly liberals have the upper hand in this. And lastly, I'll ask you, I read in your piece, she didn't even hear from the government on this case. She had a hearing where none of the parties testified.
What she did was so outrageous. There are procedures that are required to issue a temporary restraining order. Now, those procedures have nothing to do with who's right and wrong, but they're just procedures. She didn't follow any of those procedures. Now, those procedures do allow what's called an ex parte order. It's an order where you don't hear from the other side. But the burden, the requirements for issuing an ex parte order are very high. She ignored them all. When the government came in and pointed out to her that she hadn't followed any of the rules, she issued an amended TRO, which didn't make any legal or constitutional sense, but she at least now filled in all the technical defects. So that's great. 6 or 7 days late, she filled in the technical defects. She's still trying to control the government of the United States based on arguments three arguments in particular, every single one of which is wrong.